Diane Sykes, 304 Chestnut Street, Crescent City, Florida. I'm curious as to why the commission chose to violate Florida statute requiring sufficient notice, and why we violated our own city charter, which says that special meetings will be noticed in the local paper. And the Florida statute states that reasonable notice be given for special meetings. A special meeting on 25 hours notice to me does not seem sufficient. And I guess until we get to the contract, I have no further comments.
Oh, this is your opportunity, so say what you need to say
Okay.
now. You have 2 minutes.
And why, when our city charter states 60 days for pay for termination, why we have exceeded that by such a great amount? And I noticed there are blank dates in the contract. Is that to fill in for a period that we would deem probationary period, in which we could terminate employment if it turns out? I mean, here we have a contract here that's only for the benefit of the new city manager. I see nothing in this contract that benefits the city in any way, except for 2-year retention, which, as has been pointed out in other meetings, we've never had contracts, although everyone says, well, we always violate that, we always give exceptions. Well, that's part of the problems that got us into some of the messes we're in now, is by violating our own charter.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Okay, at this time, commissioners, you have a contract. I don't know if everybody is familiar with Mr. Young. He is the part of the Homes and Young, but he has thoroughly reviewed this contract. Do you want to speak to this at all?
Just simply to say that there are some provisions in this is basically a draft contract. There are a few provisions that the commission will have to make a determination on before it's approved. As an example, the manager's section 2, so paragraph E, the manager shall reside within X number of miles of the city, Crescent City, etc. And I believe a salary amount, but those type things need to be determined before you can approve the final contract.
Okay. Yeah, and we voted on that at the meeting, the last meeting. It was
35 miles.
35 miles, so it's 35 miles from the city. Okay, 35 miles from the city. Mr. Leary, do you want to share with the commission as far as negotiations with salary, where we are with that?
Yes, ma'am. The applicant proposed new city manager has agreed to salary of $85,000 a year, which was in the range which we advertised, which will be a cut and pay for him coming to the city, but he's excited about it. And so with also a clause after 90 days and an evaluation on his performance and goal accomplishment, that the city commission would review that, and if successful, would consider an additional $5,000, which would bring him to where he is currently, what he's currently making, where he is now.
Okay.
Unless y'all want to, do that now. So he's in agreement to that.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions as you've gone through this? Is there anything that?
Well,
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I would like to back up just a little bit
Okay.
and try to address Diane's question that she asked, put before us. I don't know too much about those statutes. I would like to know.
Oh,
Some,
should I come up?
No,
No.
no, I think she's,
We have an attorney here that can speak to the statutes. He's
yeah. I
skilled in
need-
that.
What was that statute?
Statute
Yeah,
286-011.
286-0011.
No, 011.011. Talks about reasonable notice.
Okay,
That would be left to interpret.
Okay,
okay, I would like the attorney to, if he would, please, to address that so we can get some clarification on that. Before I go into the contract part of it.
Should give me just a moment.
Well, and while he's looking for that, we did announce and discuss it in detail at the meeting on Tuesday that we had hoped to be able to meet today to ratify a contract so that the applicant could notify his employer. And, you know, nobody wants to be in a position where they go into their current employer and say, and if they already know, and of course it was in the Black Daily News, at any rate, this is not unusual for any city manager or county manager in the process that once we get to the point where the mayor and I, you know, negotiated and had long discussion with Mr. Rudd. And then I had additional discussions with him. And so that's where we are today. And reasonable notice is not defined that I'm aware of. But it was actually notified on Wednesday.
and through our charter, and I've got a copy of that. Mr. Hunt, I'll provide that to you. Through our charter, as the mayor, I have the ability to call a meeting with 12 hours notice, a special meeting, as long as we follow the protocol, of which we did.
Yeah, I just wanted some clarification myself, or I didn't quite understand it. I don't want to put a yay by something that I don't understand.
I understand.
Yeah,
So
okay, all right.
if I understand you correctly, Commissioner, what you're asking is, do you believe there was reasonable notice for this meeting based upon Florida statute and the charter that governs the city, and as to whether or not when it could call meetings? My understanding was this was noticed on Wednesday. Is that correct, Mr. Laird?
Yes.
Today is Friday, so that's more than 24-hour notice. It was noticed within the realms of the mayor's ability to call a special meeting, and she followed protocol as far as I know in regards to the charter, and it was in an excess of 12 hours. Reasonable is not defined specifically by any number of hours. Vince is a totality of the circumstances, and considering the fact that we were just meeting on this, it was a public meeting. We discussed having this meeting on Friday, being today. It was in the paper. It was properly published and noticed on Wednesday, as far as I know. I have no concerns about it being reasonable notice for this meeting.
Thank you. And my point of clarification, and I got that, so I'm ready to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good now?
Mhm.
Good now, okay. I do want to bring to, in going through the charter and through the contract, some discussion in that the charter has it as, that his appointment shall be for an indefinite term. Okay, this contract does have an indefinite, it has a definite term. Ones in the past have also had a definite term. I believe that it's, and I'm gonna refer to Mr. Young as to whether or not we need to adhere to that, even though we've already set a different precedent. And should we change that and make this an indefinite term?
I don't have that provision of the charter in front of me. Do you have that, so I can look at the language?
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see a problem changing it to indefinite, because if you have a clause in here, if he's not doing da-di-da-di-da, you can let him go. And that's always within the employee. So if we want to change it to indefinite, it's.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2 years, you would review and continue anyway.
And we're
But
going
if he's
to,
not doing well, you're gonna let him go.
and it does have that provision in here.
Right.
Yeah, it does. I read that.
Mr. Leary, was that a subject that, or a point that he brought up in his
No,
negotiations or
No,
something?
sir. In fact, he read the 2-year time frame, so I don't think he has a problem with that. I think he fully intends to be here more than 2 years, but,
I hope so.
but, since charter information has been brought up, we could just leave
And
that.
this is one just from the past, just so you can see, in the past. Just want to make sure that we're doing everything.
The charter refers to this as an administrative supervisor, and if I'm understanding correctly, the administrative supervisor we now call city manager. So they're interchangeable terms. So be appointed by a majority vote and shall be for an indefinite term. Now, the way it is worded in the contract, it's just for a 2-year period, which is a definitive term. I would say you probably need to adjust that. You can always, have periods of time of review, et cetera. But based on the way the charter is written, I would say that just to say the contract's for a 2-year period is probably not correct.
And the contract also calls for an annual performance review of the city manager in addition to the first 90-day review.
And I like to speak on that. And to me personally, I think the mayor, I don't think each commissioner, now, maybe we can filter our question if there is any to our mayor. I don't think it's right to have a city manager have to, go through all of us before he can get some clarification on things. For his evaluation, I think we should choose a person, and personally, the mayor should be more appropriate, I think, for that spot to do the interview. Yeah, instead of all 4 commissioners.
You mean his performance evaluation?
Yes, yeah, I think to me, personally, just me.
To give the evaluation.
Yeah, right.
However, all of us have our say,
Yeah, we have our say input.
but then
Yeah.
the mayor would.
The
And you would
mayor-
have to do that. You
Yes.
would have to have that input though in a public, we'd have to have that. in a
Yeah,
public-
right, in a public hearing.
Yeah.
But, I think that the mayor should be the liaison between that. To do that. I don't read that in that contract, maybe
I don't know if you have a public hearing, if you actually can have a quiet talk. I mean.
I can have a-
Criticized.
I can have a talk with him. I can
Correct.
talk, just like all of us have the ability to go to our city manager and
However,
speak individually, not as a group.
Yeah, but as a group, we're gonna be talking about it publicly.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
have to.
so I'm not sure if that really
Yeah,
makes
I don't
any
think,
sense.
I don't think what
If you see my
Commissioner
point.
Banks is saying works.
Yeah.
Predominantly, city and county managers are evaluated by the entire commission, and it's done in a public meeting, good, bad, or indifferent. Not to say that the mayor could subsequently or prior to that have a conversation, on his performance, on their performance either way, but it does have to be done in a public. forum.
yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because the outcome is gonna come from the public meeting,
Yeah, right.
the public meeting. That's my take on it, but
Okay.
So, Mayor, and I think our council would agree that for each of those items that are blank, the distance, the salary, definitely, you need a motion.
We're gonna need a
to
motion for
encompass
each
all of
one.
those things,
Okay.
to the.
So I'm gonna, at this point in time, we have a, Ms. Young, if you'll guide us a little bit through this to make sure we're doing it correctly. Do we need a motion on this and then go through and make our adjustments to it first?
Well, I think some of the blanks you had already negotiated, is that correct? Like the distance from Crescent City?
That has already been determined. Yes, that was voted on and determined.
So we have that.
Salary is the big, is of course the one that we're gonna have to,
But let's do it in order here. I mean, the next page, page 3, we're talking about determination.
I know, but I'm asking first, do we need to go ahead and have a motion for the entire document?
No, I think what you need to do is to go ahead and by motion approve each of those issues that needs to be addressed in the contract. And once you have approved each of those individually, then if someone desires to make a motion to approve the contract as amended with those items that you have determined today, then we can move forward.
Okay. So do we want to, somebody want to make a motion on the salary so we can open that up for discussion?
I make a motion that we, as advertised, in the area of $85,000 starting salary per year.
Okay, we have a motion as a starting salary at 85,000. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have discussion? Does anybody want to discuss
Well,
this?
I'm just kind of looking at where this is. We have 2 blanks there, the $85,000 base pay is payable in installments. Okay, no, I'm good with that.
You're
I
good.
read that. At least I'm sorry, I didn't read the whole thing.
That's okay.
Okay. No, I'm good.
So everyone is good with that? So we have a motion and we have a second. I'm gonna go ahead and ask for roll call.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner
Here.
Banks.
Present.
Yea or nay?
Yeah.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Mayor Myers,
Aye. Okay, salary motion passes. Then I believe we're gonna go to his 90-day evaluation. We need to look at that, and if we're willing to do the increase at that time.
And the contract does state consider, it does not obligate the commission,
Okay,
but it is a number that you would consider based upon his evaluation. And he understands that, Mr. Larry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. So we'll consider an increase in the city manager salary too. Do we want to fill that in? Do we want to go ahead and fill that in?
I would defer to Mr. Leary based on his negotiations with him, but it sounded like to me like he had a definitive number he's requesting
Okay,
the commission to consider at the end of that 90 days. So
That's correct.
it's up to you whether or not to approve that or change the number or
Okay.
whatever you'd like to do.
so that would be 290,000. That's his recommendation.
Correct.
That's his request. Okay, commissioners,
Which would bring him to what his current salary is,
his current salary. Okay,
and actually more in the market range.
okay, commissioners, we're gonna need a motion on this. Does someone want to make a motion?
I move after the 90-day period that we increase the manager's salary of 5,000 to a total of 90,000.
Okay,
The motion you made is that you're agreeing to do so. The contract as it is written says you will consider it at the time. I'm not sure if you want to clarify that or not.
Let me amend my motion to consider after a 90-day period of the 5,000 to 90,000.
okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, discussion now, consider me that if we don't think we should, we don't have to do it at that time, correctly?
That's correct.
Okay,
Does it also mean that if we decide that maybe not 5,000 at that point in time, that if we needed to, could we show any amount less than that?
You would probably have that freedom. I mean, you are considering that amount because that's the amount he has requested.
Okay,
I think the commission would have the opportunity to discuss any other amount.
okay. Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. We need to close discussion. Okay. Karen, would you do roll call, please? Everyone in favor?
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion carries. Now, we also have in here that we need to change this. If you go back to page 2 of 8. And Mr. Young, I'm gonna again refer to you. Could we end it at provisions of the city charter, period, and take out this agreement shall be in effect for 2 years terminating? Could we amend this contract that way?
Which letter?
It's gonna be on page 2 of 8, very top,
The very top line.
8.
So currently, as it is written, it would say, in accordance with provisions of the city charter, this agreement shall be in effect for 2 years terminating August 16th, 2020, which is not in accordance with the provisions of the city charter. Delete that last. I think just deleting the last sentence, beginning on page 1, in accordance with, and delete that sentence is probably the most appropriate way.
Okay, so delete the entire sentence. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna need a motion.
Would you just, read how he wants that changed, please?
Charles Rudd agrees to accept employment as the city manager effective on August 16th, 2021, and to continue service thereafter in accordance with this agreement.
And leave out the,
Yes, stop it there.
okay. That's, I just want to make sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a motion to delete that sentence. And
Yes.
please be specific when you state section 2, paragraph A.
I make the motion that in section 2, paragraph 8, we delete the sentence in accordance with the provisions of the city charter. This agreement shall be in effect for 2 years, terminating on August 16th, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Seeing no discussion. Karen, if you'll do roll call for us, please.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, motion carries, that's eliminated. Okay, as we go through this, does anybody have any other changes, any other questions regarding this contract? Commissioner Banks, do you have anything? I see you've got some,
No, no, I gotta let it check my.
you got a lot of check marks. I'm just eyeballing it, making sure that you.
Do you want to put a date in on section 3? I'm sorry, on page 3. A, do you want to put a date in there?
On 3A, okay. Let's look at this one. And this, of course, this speaks to, his severance. This will speak to his severance. So that is something we are gonna have to discuss. Thank you, Commissioner West, for speaking to the severance, and at what point do we want to pay severance? Do we want to do a sliding scale severance? How do we want to handle severance?
It's only time, what's the normal type, how long somebody normally have to work before they're offered severance?
Typically, what you have is a probationary period that you designate.
Well, the probationary is kind of 90 days, isn't it, that we're getting them to take the first.
In this
look at it?
particular case, yes. So if your probationary period is 90 days, typically you would not be paying and doing any type of service package during that 90 days if he's terminated. After that, unless you implement some kind of sliding scale, then it would be the full severance package that you designated in the contract.
Okay, so the sliding scale, because that, 90 days really isn't enough time to really understand or get them on board and, so a sliding scale usually starts at that point, and a sliding scale would work, because that's not what's in here at all as far as the sliding scale goes.
Right, and what I caution you on is Mr. Leary's been negotiating this contract with him, Mr. Rudd. So it may be his understanding that, I mean, he's accepted these terms, but if you adjust these terms, you may have to go back and renegotiate. So you might approve this, but he may not agree to it. So I'm not sure what discussion has been with him, Mr. Leary, but that's to speak to.
Well, this is pretty standard language for any county city manager contract, and what it does, it gives the new city manager insurance that he's leaving a job now, well paid, and that, he's not terminated, without cause, for political, whatever reasons. It just gives them some assurance that they have a safety net. If that does occur, that gives them time to then find other employment and that type of thing. So this is pretty standard language.
Oftentimes it can go out to 6 months, sometimes at 6 months. And my understanding with him is that 90 days was a point that he wanted to know from us. Is he performing? Is he doing everything? I thought that was admirable. I don't know that's I hope that gives him enough time to do what he needs to do. 90 days was something that he wanted to know from us. Am I doing everything that you're looking for as a city manager?
I want to comment here. He might not by 3 months already, but I agree with Phil. We don't want to cut him off where he's leaving a really good job and come here in 90 days, we go, poof, you're gone. And where does he go to? What does he do? I don't like that. But if he's doing everything well, he's still in that learning process the whole first year. You know that. It takes 3 years to work up to where you're really flying for any job. But he comes with some experience, so he's not brand new. But all of this will be new to him. So I think what we probably ought to do is just take our date, August 16th, fill in the time that the contract says from that date, and work with that. We have the contract. We don't like him, we can let him go anytime.
And Mr. Rudd did indicate to me yesterday that he could start on August the 9th. The only caveat to that was that he had a prior engagement on the 15th, so he'd have to be out the 15th, but that would just be 1 day. I encourage y'all to do the 9th and just keep him in here and get him started. And,
Okay, we want to change it to the 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's finish up where we are right now.
And if I can,
vote on that.
just in my discussions with him and, his articulating, what he'd like to accomplish, he is very goal oriented, and what he wants to do immediately is meet with the commission, both collectively and individually, to set goals for the first 90 days so that, there is a barometer of what y'all want him to accomplish in that 90 days. And I've agreed to work with him for a week or 10 days, whatever he feels comfortable with and whatever y'all feel comfortable with. But he's already started that process of learning and getting the background. He's read all of our documents and is really in a good position and has been watching the meetings and, keeping up with things for the last, month and a half.
But I really don't think that's enough time regarding to leave a bigger government and come to a smaller government, even though he got all the knowledge, I think the goal should be out a little further. And that's just my opinion.
So,
You can't turn around in 90 days, 3 months.
I think I've accomplished a lot in 90 days.
Mr. Leary, let me ask you this. Is it possible that in 90 days, we could, maybe we push this out to 6 months, but in 90 days, we give him a preliminary? Would that be possible, do you think? Could you
Well,
get him on the
I'm-
phone and see if he would accept that?
I have to discuss it with him.
Okay, I don't want us to have to come back into this meeting. Is it possible that we could get him on the phone and accept that? If so, that's what the commission, if the commission prefers that for the 90 days to 6 months, that's gonna be at the,
I just
Will of the
said stay
commission.
for 90 days,
you're okay with the 90 days?
90 days, right?
Okay, well, we're gonna need a motion.
I move that we, give him the, 90 days, now. Let's restate that again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's just make sure what we're
Right.
saying.
Okay.
Right,
Okay,
So in 90 days, we're gonna give them a performance type evaluation. And is that when we're gonna decide whether or not we're gonna keep them or let them go? Or is that when we're gonna decide to up his pay to
Up his
90
pay- up his
thousand
pay.
dollars?
yeah, we could
Because
do
he's
either or, honestly,
See
you
what
can
I
do
mean?
either or.
But it doesn't have, I mean, if his performance is good, then we probably are gonna do the 95,000, or excuse me, $90,000.
Isn't that the same thing? We're gonna do the performance evaluation in 3 months, and then his salary is up about $5,000 at that time. Is that what I
But-
understand?
Well, that's what I understood, and
that
then,
would be voted.
but at 90 days, I guess if his performance, 3 months really is, I think, kind of tough to evaluate someone.
That's me too.
And so I think we can probably evaluate to give him some money. But on the same hand, if, let's say, oh gee, we didn't like something he did, or we thought maybe he needed to do something, would we cut him?
Do you
free
think
in
he
90
wouldn't know
days?
about it?
That's not required at that point in time.
But-
I don't think it would be required, would it? To cut him loose, it would just be an evaluation.
No, well,
Yeah.
to back everything up for you,
Yeah.
and I think what's happened is you've branched out on a couple things and trying to merge things together. What you have been talking about right now is whether or not there's a time period, a probationary period, which initially has been negotiated as 90 days. Is that correct, Mr. Larry?
Correct.
Okay, so he's agreed to 90 days, although it sounds like the commission is probably thinking it should be more like 6 months. But let's set that
He
aside.
would agree to that. He just texted me.
To what?
He would agree to 6 months.
Okay, so if the commission wants to change it to 6 months, that's fine. I don't know if you then need to adjust that pay amount at 90 days or not. That's something separate. But what you're talking about here is the period of time in which he's called probationary period. So if he's terminated for any reason inside that 6 month period, then there's no severance package. If he's terminated beyond, after that 6 month period has come and gone, then there's a severance package. That's what you're discussing right now.
If he's terminated without cause.
Yes. within that
If we
6
didn't like
months.
a jacket he wore to a meeting and we decided we were going to terminate without cause. So we have to be very specific in that it's without cause. Let me ask you this, let me ask you a question. Are we setting ourselves up by making this date specific since we,
Don't know the date of hire.
well, we do know the date of hire, however, things happen. The evaluation at 6 months might not be at a date certain, it might be at a meeting. And
Maybe
we-
on a Sunday.
It might be on a Sunday. Could we do something that following the signed date of the evaluation? I mean, is there language so that we're not putting a specific date in here? You see what I'm saying? is that-
Typically, what you see is an amount of time from, an event city manager is terminated within 6 months of his date of hire, something like
Okay.
that, okay? And so what you would be looking at is if there was an issue or a concern about his performance and the commission wished to address that before the 6 month period was over, you'd have to have either address it at city commission meeting prior to that date or a special call meeting prior to that date. and then take action
Okay.
appropriately. But personally, I prefer the 6-month language versus the date certain, because right now, even though we think you start on this date or this date, you really don't
I
know.
just, I'm afraid being date certain
Yeah,
is gonna set us up, so I agree with this.
He agrees to the 6-month probationary evaluation and the consideration of the increase at that time, so instead of 90 days. So if you want to go back and change that, maybe that'll solve the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that.
So that's on page 4.
Right now, what you got before you is the probationary period, so we need to address and resolve that.
Yes.
And if you need to go back and readdress the other, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so. Do we
So I'm gonna
somewhat
need a
agree on the
motion.
6-month probationary period?
Yes, but I need a motion, we need a motion. And we're gonna have to change this language.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so I'm talking about the language.
Would you like some recommended
Would
language
you
on the
please
record?
please give commissioners recommended language?
In the event the city manager is terminated by the commission prior to the expiration of 6 months from his start date of work, and the city manager is willing and able to perform the duties of the city manager position, then and in the event, the city shall have no obligation to pay any severance designated in this section. And then I would further go, in the event the city manager is terminated by the commission after that 6-month period, and the city manager is willing and able to perform the duties of the city manager position, then and in the event the city agrees to pay the city manager as it states in there. So if you'd like to adopt my language as part of your motion, please feel free.
Okay, I need a motion. Who wants to make the motion?
I make a motion to adopt the attorney. Adopt the city attorney language.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
And for clarification, that's for a 6-month probationary period.
Right. Okay, Karen, will you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Burton,
Right.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Let's go back to his 90 days, if we can. That's gonna be on page 4. It is section 6. So we're going to need to,
I don't know if you really need to do anything with that. Do you? I mean, you can give
I
it
know,
what
we
you
just-
do within the 90 days.
no, but we've got to come down here after the first 90-day evaluation. So we're gonna have to change that. See, paragraph D,
Yes.
so we're gonna have to change that. We don't have to change C, which we already have a motion on. But D, we are going to have to after the first 90-day evaluation. So we're gonna do, we would have to do after the first 6-month evaluation. Probationary,
I don't think so. I'm reading that.
Required to do an evaluation at the end of a probationary period. Usually they do. So the standard.
so Mr. Young, would we put in there, so after the first probationary evaluation, 6-month probationary evaluation,
That certainly would work.
okay?
As far as paragraph D goes, replacing the 90-day evaluation with that language would be fine.
After the first 6-month probation. Okay, I'm gonna need a motion.
I so move that we change. Hold on a minute. Section 6, paragraph D, first sentence, after the first 6 months evaluation.
Probation.
The commission shall about, what do we want?
Okay.
To evaluate the city manager, manager annually. And we consider annual performance evaluations such as salary, benefit, performance bonuses, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? And what this motion is she is changing the language from after the first 90-day evaluation to after the first 6 months evaluation. That's all the language that's being changed in this paragraph.
Okay, so reread that down after
So-
the first,
What she's doing in this motion is she's eliminating the 90-day.
right,
That's all she's doing is taking out that. And she's adding in there 6 months. So after the first 6-month evaluation,
okay.
the commission shall evaluate. She's not making any other changes
Okay,
to that.
that's, I just wanted to make sure. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion on this? Karen?
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye. We're going to have to address paragraph B on that same page, where it says between November 16th and December 16th, the commission shall review and evaluate.
Mayor.
We can take that out completely.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I recommend you just
Yeah.
strike the whole paragraph.
that's what I was thinking, that we just strike that. So I'm gonna need a motion to strike paragraph B in section 6.
I move that we strike paragraph B in section 6.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion?
You're wanting the remaining paragraphs to be relettered accordingly, correct?
Yes, sir. Do you need us to add that to the motion, do you think, believe?
As long as,
We can,
Probably.
do you want
All
to,
right, I will add,
you want to amend your motion?
amend that we letter the following paragraphs appropriately. Is that good enough?
I think everybody understands the intent, as long as we have a second for that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I think we can do this. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, is there anything else in here that someone has concern about or has a question as we're going through this?
I think there are a lot of, the rest of it is standard, really, in a contract. For city manager in the past, car expense and.
The car expense stays the same, remains the same as it has been, yes, sir.
And we have a chance to come back and visit it later on, the gas keep on going
Okay.
up.
6 months. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I believe we also have an issue with what would have been paragraph C, and now be paragraph B. Based on the fact that you changed it to 6 months. Paragraph C now still reads, it would now become paragraph B. At the time of the first review and recognition of performance, the commission will consider an increase in the city manager's salary to 90,000 as you've approved. That was contemplated at the 90-day mark, I believe, but based on the fact that your first review is 6 months. Is that, I mean, that would now have that consideration of the city manager's salary back at the 6-month time period, not the 90-day time period.
That would be the consideration, up from 85 to 90
Right.
in 6 months.
First review, since the 6 month would be the first review, does that cover it? So
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's agreeable to that, instead of
thought
that the
that you said
90-day
he
mark
was.
is the 6-month mark, then you're
He-
fine.
he agrees to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, then we're fine.
okay.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion of the contract before we?
Went over it
I've read it,
kind of thorough and
it looks pretty standard, it's correct.
yeah, basically, the standard contract in the past, that would be.
Mr. Young, do you feel that this contract works for both the city and the manager?
You might be asking me to step outside of the legal opinion. My legal opinion is it's a sufficient contract that addresses those
Okay.
issues that that you believe are important to both the city and to
Okay.
the city manager.
Okay, okay. That's what we need. Okay, we have a motion to accept the employment agreement as amended.
I so move.
Second.
Do you want to?
Say it all.
Okay, yeah, okay. If you would, please make the motion.
I move that we accept the proposed city management employment agreement at this time
As amended.
as amended. So,
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Aaron, will you do roll call, please?
Commissioner West,
aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Mayor Myers,
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. And we now have a new city manager. Well, we hope we do.
Pending the background.
Pending the
check.
background check, that is true,
It is.
that we still have to do the background
The
check.
background check is ongoing as we speak.
And he is aware of the background, he
Yes.
is aware that it's pending the background
He
check.
also asked with flying color the background check that is as current order, so I don't anticipate any problems, but that is a caveat, so
Okay.
we should have that by Monday.
Has the commission authorized anyone to actually make the final? I wasn't at the meeting, so is Mr. Leary authorized to make the final offer for the approved contract to Mr. Rudd for
We
signature?
probably should have a motion for that, thank you for bringing that to our attention, we probably should have a motion for that at this time. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we allow our current city manager, Phil Leary, to make the offer to Charles Rudd for the pending city manager position.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion, we have a second, we have any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries. Continue to charge. Commissioners, before we close this meeting out, I do want to share with you that I think it's important that when we have, with our schedules, that in working with the new city manager, that we make sure our city manager knows when we're in town, when we're out of town. And that's very important.
And the
Yes.
city clerk.
And the city clerk as well, so that, the office here is aware when we are traveling. I know we've all been trying to do that. We're in the summer season now and a lot of people are traveling. We have had a lot of changes though, and we are meeting more frequently than we've probably ever met before, just simply because we have a lot of work that has to be done and we're trying to get it done.
Let me ask you this, will he be attending the lead cities in our staff?
I'll follow up. I think he is scheduled to attend, so, and he'll obviously be here for the commission meeting on budget workshop, CRA meeting, and commission meeting on the 10th.
That would be good.
And that was my understanding from the discussion with you, is that while he initially had said the 16th, when he realized we were having a commission meeting on the 9th, he really wanted to be, the 10th, he wanted to be here for that meeting, since it's
Then he
dealing with the
subsequently
budget.
moved the starting date to the 9th.
And my question is, he trying to dump us and get away from there quick. So.
He is. Do you blame him? Do you blame him?
Well, I want to get.
Commissioner, I've been twisting his arm saying, you get up here right now.
He even paid his gas money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
He been in the time period he been in that seat, a tremendous job. I like to give people their flowers while they're still on top of the earth.
I like that.
Yeah, he really did a tremendous job. He kind of put a little hope back in the city. He really did.
I'd like to see us also do like an open house for the public to come meet him and not have that meeting going on or whatever, but just be a meeting. So they have a face for when you come in, you see what he looks like, and he gets to meet people too.
Meet the people, yeah, like we always do.
Yeah.
We need to do that. I
We'll
don't
set
know.
it up for sure.
set that up, and I've gotten some, Mr. Leary, very appreciative, very, very appreciative of you stepping in on, the short notice that you did and doing what you have done so far.
You know, something, he's not gone yet.
I know, but I still, I do want to thank you. That said, I'm very excited about Mr. Rudd and
Yes.
the tools that he brings to the city.
I think he's-
We had all very good applicants. Each applicant, I felt, this was probably one of the strongest pools of applicants that
It
the
has
city
to,
has
as
had
long as I've been
in a
here.
long time, and I even speak that knowing that at one point in time I was an applicant, and this group still beats the applicants that we had at that time.
At that time.
I'm very excited about what he's gonna bring, the energy that he brings. And even he shared with us that he came up to Red, White, and Boone, unbeknownst to us, drove up from Lakeland just to see what was going on in the community. I was unaware that he was here at that time as well. So I think that shows a lot that he is excited about this. I'm excited about this. I hope the community will get out and support him as we progress and move forward. I really do. And so I thank each and every one of you for taking time today and coming out and getting the business done that needed to get done. And with that, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at, I guess, 10:57.